professional look. So good afternoon again, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is the third edition of Eyes and Ears. So in keeping with Breakthrough Assault's use of old rules, because if you've ever played version 2, you'll remember that's what we're named after, when you could have an assault and then follow it up with another assault. We've picked Eyes and Ears because actually a few of us think that Eyes and Ears is something that's missing from version 4. So it's a subtle hint that if we ever get to version 5, we should bring it back, because it does actually give Recce something to do. So I think most of you now know me and Ludi and Soren. We've all been on one of these before, and we're going to introduce our special guest. So Morten, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, well, my name is Morten Schmidt. I work at Systematic, apparently, because I'm sitting on my work computer, and that's why my name is saying it. I've been playing Flames of War for a long, long time. I think I started in, I don't know, 2012, maybe. I have been working at a game store next to my studies, and that's where I kind of started this Flames of War journey. Started making events and so on, and I've been on the Danish ETC team for 6 years now, I think it is. Started in 16, and I've been enjoying it very much. And now I still do Flames of War events once or twice a year, I think, in Denmark. That's a quick intro.
So I'll throw to Soren then, because he'd started off telling us about his but we're going to cut that out. So so go on, Soren, how long have you been playing?
Yeah, I've been playing Flames of War since 2017, and the first time I traveled to play it abroad from Iceland, that was in 2019. So I've been just doing competitive gaming for 3 years, and I wouldn't look at it as competitive gaming because I don't go out to win. I go out to have a good time and meet fun people, and Flames of War is full of fun people, and most of them don't play to win either. So that's a good way to have fun and have a daiquiri if you find a good place to have it.
Really? What about you? How long?
I think I bought my first Flames of War minis in 2006 or 7, but really started playing Flames of War in 2016, 17. My first ETC in Salamanca was in 2017 with the Finnish team. And then I've played a few ETCs as a mercenary for Team Austria. And last year I brought the Finnish team back to the ETC scene. And we're coming back again for 2023 with the Finnish team, so it makes a few years. But I'm like Soren. I'd call it eventful playing, because it's easy to motivate yourself to paint an army on time for something if you have a deadline. But yeah, it's fun to go to competitions, but I'm not there to compete. Just there to have fun.
So this is the bit where we all have the conversation about how long ago is a long time, and obviously for Morten, a long time ago is 2012. So I played my first ever competitive war game at a 7 years war competition in Bath in the south of England in 1990. So that means that when I played my first wargaming competition, Soren and not Soren, no, Soren's a bit older than the other two. These two youngsters, Ludwig and Morten, were both probably still in nappies. Everything is subjective.
Yeah.
And I think I played a couple of games of version 1, and went back to playing Ancients, and then started to play quite heavily version 3, and then bit of a hiatus, with version 4, which I'm still learning to love. And I've been lucky enough to play with Morten on Team Denmark, because obviously you can tell from my accent that I'm Danish. And then when I got thrown off Team Denmark, I went and played with Soren on Team Iceland. It's fair to say that my Danish is marginally better than my Icelandic. Neither of them are as good as my English, but we're not making a reappearance at 2023, unfortunately. So I have this. Don't rub your eyes. It's
What
your fault.
happened?
You're the one that's not coming. So so I rented myself out to another team. Strangely enough, the one United Kingdom team that I don't actually qualify for through birth or residence or grandparents. So I'll be back at the ETC in 2023. So that leads us quite nicely in picking up on what Soren and Ludi said about what makes a good competition. And obviously they picked up the fact that they're not competitive players. And I guess probably I do have a little bit of a reputation of being quite competitive. And I do kind of like to win, but I think I've got to that point now where for me it isn't really a competition. It is a big social event of going and seeing friends, and that's the background to my photo. Is the 3 other people on this call are on the photo, and I'm actually taking the photograph. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of beer being consumed at an event in Reykjavik in January. But I'm going to throw to Morten because he hasn't expressed a view on this. So, Morten, for you, what makes a good competition?
Oh, I mean competition event, or like?
Yeah, competition event. You know, if you were, what for you? What do you get out of competitive gaming, and what do you know? What's the things that you like about or makes a competition pop for you?
I think right now, I think I'm the same level as you guys, that I enjoy the social event or the more fun event more than the competitive event. The competitive event is of course cool, but it definitely doesn't trigger me the same way as if a tournament organizer has put a lot of effort into a historical aspect, or the fun aspect, like in Reykjavik, which was really cool. That it wasn't about the game; it was actually about drinking beer and talking to the other guys while playing. And I don't know if I have HDAD or whatever, but I like new stuff. So I don't like the repetitive Swiss draw events all the time. I enjoy the more historic focused with a little twist of changing the rules of the basic game in a way. So maybe asymmetrical games where it isn't one side, or like balanced. It doesn't have to be balanced in my mind because the game isn't balanced. So yeah, that's my quick.
So, I mean, it's not really a competitive game, Soren, but do you want to talk us through the photograph that's behind me in terms of?
Well, yeah, every second year in Iceland, we have a polar bear competition, which is, we have 5 games, Saturday and Sunday, which is fairly red and blue. And you can play to win, or you can play to have fun. But the main event is Saturday night. We play a 2-sided game, the mega battle, where we play North Africa. And the team that is currently winning will have to drink more drinks than the ones losing. So it has a magical way of evening out, because if you win a lot, you drink a lot, and then you start to lose. And then all of a sudden, it always ends up being just a point or two between the losing side and the winning side. And it's a really nice way of getting people to know each other and talk to everybody. Because when you go to a competitive event, you most often only talk to the 5 guys you play. Mm-hmm. You can't get a, chat with some of your old friends, but you only meet these 3 guys you play on Saturday, and then 2 guys on Sunday, and most people just go away. And that's it. So if you're going to a 120 people event, you don't meet 50 new people and talk to. But here we have, 15, 17 people playing, and you tend to, when you only control 1 unit and you had 6 beers, you tend to talk to everybody, and that's what makes it really fun. And it seems that people keep returning. Richard. So I think it's one of the things you like about coming to Reykjavik and playing, and it's different because it doesn't have this. You don't have to win to have fun, right? So everybody loves it, and it's very relaxed, and the beer is cheap in Iceland, so why not?
Is it?
That's really
Almost all of those
it's
statements are true.
it's a really good event.
Mhm.
Gotta say, it's
Yeah, I've been
one
on
of
the
the best.
losing side of the big event both times that I played in it, and
I can't remember either way, either time.
That's the spirit,
Mm.
Lud.
yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely were on the winning side the first time. But we should swap the photograph off later, and you can all, those of you that know Mark that is involved in Breakthrough Assault, can see him looking really happy about my performance as the second in command of the British in 2017. That was 2018, wasn't it? So
No,
yeah.
it was 19.
No,
It was
we
January
did.
19.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Did you run two in? Oh, 2019 was a year. It was an odd year, wasn't it? So,
75 years of something, right? 50 years or so.
yeah.
Can't remember.
Yeah. So I think people have picked up that we kind of all know each other. Well, I certainly know Ludi and Morten through the ETC, and Soren through Polar Bear more than the ETC. But I want to talk a little bit about the ETC for those of you that don't know what that is. The European Team Championship takes place every year. It's actually a world competition. It's called the ETC because it's always held in Europe, although that's something that we're debating as teams this year for future years. It's teams of 6. Yeah, you have to have at least 3 of those who are qualified for the country that you are representing. So I played for Team Scotland, and I was Team Scotland's captain. And then a couple of years where I couldn't get a team together, I played with Iceland and Denmark. And it's, for me, it's the premier competition. I've played in lots of different eras and lots of different competitions, and for me the ETC has always been the sort of pinnacle of gaming, because A, you're sort of playing for your country, and B, you get to meet some really great people. And I wanted to ask Soren how he'd found it, because it was his first year at the ETC this year. And then I'm going to throw to Ludi and to Morten to talk a little bit about Belgium, because Belgium was a bit special, I think most of us found this year. But Soren, how did you find it?
Well, it's just something you hear if you travel and meet people that tend to travel to play Flames of War. Most of them come to the ETC. So I think I heard it through Christian from Team Denmark, and then we talked to Mark. He came to the Polar Bear once, and we've just been chatting about it and thought it could be fun. And me and Gunnar decided to give it a shot, see if we could do Team Iceland. And Jökull, that's made a lot of Firestorm campaigns for Flames of War, he wanted to come as well. And then all of a sudden we had a team. So Richard, you choose to join us with your North Atlantic friends. And then all of a sudden we went to see what it all's about. Because some of it have a reputation of being super competitive, and it's not, right? Because at least half the teams just come to have fun and really don't care if they have to bring the super meta list and will win all 6 games. So that was a nice surprise. I thought it would be more competitive, but maybe I'd say 5-6 teams come to win, or have a chance to win, maybe, and then the rest of us is just having fun, playing with toy soldiers and drinking beer. So what's not
daiquiris like? in your case?
Yeah, daiquiris. Yeah, yes.
And so just so we can cover off the compare, how many games did you win this year out of the 6? You won 3, didn't you? 3.
I won 4 and played 2 draws.
4, and you were using?
I was using Soviets, because you can't win with Soviets.
Yeah.
Well, maybe when you're not playing the medalists.
Yeah, but see, I have a personal theory. That's the competitive players never know they're competitive. So maybe I am competitive. I just don't know it.
And Team Iceland this year won the best trophy, the most important trophy, which was best sporting team. And we didn't finish bottom, which was which was our aim for the whole thing. So I'm going to move from a team that was never going to win anything to ask Morten, who plays for a team well, it plays for a team that's really good, except for when I'm playing for it, when it's really not. And ask you what you thought about Belgium. Sort of talk more about how it compared to other ETCs. Because obviously Soren's new, but I should have. I have a photograph of Morten and I painting the scenery onto tables in Serbia a few years ago. So
it was Croatia.
Yeah,
no,
Croatia. Yeah.
was
Zagreb.
it Zagreb? Was
Zagreb.
it Zagreb or Novi Sad?
Yep. It was Zagreb. Novi Sad had good tables.
So, Morten, how did you find it in Belgium?
Belgium was nice. The organization behind this ETC was really great. I really liked the whole logistic part. Everything just worked. So for that, that was definitely one of the best logistics-wise, the ETC. The size was smaller though, because we didn't have the other games. So usually at the ETC, we also have Warhammer or Age of Sigmar or Ninth Age or whatever they play. And I missed that, the big whoosh feeling of going into that hall. And I know it's a way bigger job to host that. So don't expect it to come back actually, now that it's all broken up. But for me, honestly, the competitiveness was, like Søren says, it's not even the competitive players don't really play competitive. I mean, we just still have fun. For example, my game against Fred, we had jokes all game long. And that was definitely one of my best games at ETC and all the ETCs, because we had so much bullshit talk that it just felt like a Friday night and not a world championship. But I could definitely also see or feel on myself that I was tired of the medalists that Søren are talking about. I was tired of seeing 8 Achilles tank hunters and some Churchill Crocs in the same list, and then a million Humber cars. And I felt it. How do you say that? It was a tough matchup against these medalists, because I went with Finnish infantry, so definitely not a medalist. So I felt the challenge that, okay, something is maybe not totally right. I mean, like, it was a tough matchup to do these games. But luckily the terrain on the tables were crazy. So some of the terrain tables were like overfilled with houses and forests. And if there's one thing Finnish infantry likes, it's houses and forests. So I won 2 games. So that's really a good job in my mind. And I had fun, but I could also see that I would enjoy these events more than the competitiveness, in a way, for next year.
So, from a player with Finnish infantry to our resident Finn, how did you find it? What did you take, Ludi? I can't remember.
I played Finnish infantry, to be honest.
Okay.
I had a infantry company and a Jaeger company. In other words, light infantry company. Sure. The ETC was as Morten said earlier, the whoosh effect of going into hall with at best, I think the ETC had like 5 game systems going on at the same time. At least in I think in Salamanca it was like at least 5 game systems, and then there were like a few demo tables, mixing it up as well. But then again, it was really nice to also see this one full effort Flames of War community event, which the Belgians really, I mean, wow. And I mean, well, it's good for us that they wanted to do round 2 for next year, and we'll be going back there. But yeah, it was a really good event. I can't remember if I think I either won 2 or 3 games, drawed and lost the other one, or it might have been a 2-2-2, so 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. But yeah, I mean, it was a really good time seeing you guys, seeing the guys from the other teams. And yeah, Team Finland is definitely one of the teams that just goes there to have fun. We tend to bring a few so-called new players to the international scene, so they get to see what it's like. Because a lot of people, especially Finns, have this conception when you ask them that, would you like to come to a team championship? They go like, oh, I have to be good. No, it's a bonus if you know how to play. I mean, it's just about having fun with the community.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, since the first time I walked into an ETC hall in 2017, it was like, yep, I'll be back here every year for as long as I can.
So I think hopefully I'm checking the YouTube chat. So somebody's asked a question about how does it mix between the sort of the fun, those of us that play for fun and those of us that are super competitive. So I should say
really well.
Yeah, I should say that I took the list with the Achilles and the Crocs. Only 4 Achilles, though. I didn't take didn't take the 8.
Because Crocs are so expensive.
It's the de rigueur. Because I did do a list with 8 in it, and my captain said, "You do realise that that's the list that everybody will be taking." So I'm like, "No, I can't take that." And I was 2. I was 1, 2, drew 2, lost 2. But our first game, Soren and I were playing with Iceland, and our first game was against Team America, and they won it. Mm-hmm. And you know, we had 6 really good games. So you know, the other team, I played somebody who historically I hadn't always seen eye to eye with, and you know, it was a really good game. He absolutely snotted me, you know, and they went on to win it. But the games were great, and I think over time, the ETC has kind of got through that ultra competitive, difficult kind of phase that many things go, and even the really good teams are, you know, are really fun to be around. And you know, Christian and Hellier and some of the Danish guys have got a real will to win, but they're still really good guys to have. And I had an absolute blast when I was part of Team Denmark when I played in Novi Sad, and same again with Soren and the guys. So I hope that kind of answers that question. I want to move on and talk a little bit about the competition that Morten's run, and I think this year was the second time that you'd run a competition of this kind, isn't it, Morten?
Yeah, well, we have always tried to do something different, but this was a follow-up-ish kind of rules-wise. It was a follow-up to the Fillet Pocket thing we did the year before. So yeah, you can say that.
So just, I mean, we sort of trail this as what you can do that isn't just pick an army, turn up, you know, and you play red versus blue for the first round, and then if you've got Swiss chess, you can end up with Americans versus Americans and Brits versus Russians, or Germans versus Italians.
Yeah.
So it's always handy to have a Finnish army, I always found, because you can play on whichever side you like, all the way through. But what prompted you to do something different with the Fillet thing? And then we'll come on and talk about Blitzkrieg Without Petrol.
The Fillet thing was, usually I do this annual event called ArsCon in the town I live, where it's kind of like the ETC, just in Denmark. So we have different games hosted at the same time. I do the Flames of War part, so I, as you can probably hear, I don't want to host just a Swiss draw red on blue tournament. I want to do something else. So every year I try to find a theme or theater or something that I can twist a little bit in the rules. So I'm trying to find a historic battle and then put it down on Flames of War, so to say, right? Put it on top of it. So my partner in crime, Jens, is who also helped me with Fillet and Blitzkrieg. We do a lot of ping pong over whiskey or rum, and then we start getting these good ideas. Couldn't it be great to if the Germans had to get units out of the tables and the tables were connected, because just like Søren said, it makes people talk together more than you usually do. And then we did some follow-up talks on how to do that in the practical way. And I actually found out that we hit some kind of sweet spot where the winning player didn't want to end the game because he wanted to get more stuff out of the table, and then lost, for example, because the German player needed to get more stuff out, but he then lost the objective. And the Americans in the end didn't want to finish the game because they wanted to kill as many units that they had captured in this gap. So it was super cool to see how a few small campaign rules could change the whole dynamic of the game. That was really cool. And we did the same theory for Blitzkrieg, that we want to change the basic rules without changing them or affect them. Yeah.
So how did you do that? I know you got a little bit of a presentation that you're going to run through. How did you? So some rules, isn't there? So how did you work out the asymmetry? So how did you decide how many points the Germans are going to have, how many points the Americans are going to have, and then because you played over, was it 1 day or 2 days you played over?
Friday and Saturday we played.
So 2 days. And then how did you decide who played who after the first games and stuff? So can you talk us through that? And then I'll throw
are we talking Falaise or Blitzkrieg?
The Blitzkrieg one.
Yeah, so Blitzkrieg was the Battle of the Ardennes, or the Battle of the Bulge. And at Friday evening we had a night fighting event where all the German players had the restrictions that they had to play infantry units, because this was what was attacking during the night. And the Americans didn't know that they were only facing infantry. So they had bought the big 3-inch guns and everything, and they were like, fuck. And then we just played with the night fighting rules and some snow rules. And after that, we had a map from a board game called BtA Woods, which I just had a plotter print out, right? So an architect could help me with that. And then we actually just moved a little bit the first night across the rivers, just like in real life. So when they won, I think I said in my mind, if they won 50%, they would get 2 crossings or something. It didn't have to be more specific than that. And it was same level of points, so 70 points against 70 points in the night fighting. And then the guys had 80 points each player in the Saturday games. And the Saturday games were more regular games. And the map was a hex map where each side had, I think I got the inspiration from the Kursk Firestorm. So they have around, I think they roll a die to see how many attacks they get. So I just said all the Germans attack turn 1, turn 2, 2 Americans will attack, and then the rest of the Germans will get the attack. And the last one, it would be 50-50, I think it was. So I just made up a rule. I tried to find out, okay, so where did they go in history? Okay, they went to this, they got this far, so how many moves do they need to do to go there if everything goes well and they win all games? And then I just divided that by 3 games. And then I think it was 10 hexes per move, for example. But I can talk more about that. Yeah.
So how did you decide on the lists? Did you specify that some people had to bring certain lists, or
I did. I did 2 fronts, so to say. I did the SS and the army for Germany. So they were battle groups of 5 players, I think it was, and the Americans were battle groups in north and south. So they were defending Bastogne or the northern part of the SS attack. And I did some research, found out, okay, so we need to have Piper. What kind of units did he have? What kind of American units did the defense? And then I just made around 2 choices for each unit that was present historically. So the airborne troops had maybe 3 lists. So I just made a list of, we had 10 players on each side. and I had 12 lists or restriction slots they could choose. So if Søren said, I want to play SS Knibbel, what is it called? I can never remember.
Kniddle.
Knibbel. Kniddle is like, he was one of the choices. So Søren just said, I want to pick this one, and then it's gone, it's locked, nobody else can choose that one. So we had maybe like 5 tank formations, and we had some recon and some infantry formations spread out on the different fronts. And that was really cool because we saw that I think almost everyone wrote me, fuck, I need to paint some new stuff. And also that they were really engaged in researching in this. Like, people were finding small battalion organization diagrams on Kampfgruppe Hansen, for example, or something. It was so cool to see the players invested in their unit now, because they had to choose this one.
Yeah,
and
just one thing, it's not completely free. If I pick Kniddel or Kampfgruppe Hansen, you have to use the units they used historically. So I can't just use it as a delivery system for my King Tigers or for my Panthers. If they didn't have them in real life, you couldn't play them. So you're locked
King
by...
Tigers. I'm sure I saw some King Tigers.
Yeah, because there's always somebody, right?
Søren doesn't know he's a competitive player. No, it was really well done, and there was some, for example, the 101st Airborne, they needed to bring Winters or Lipton, for example, and what else? Yeah, there was a lot of restrictions. For example, Panther lists are maybe not the best, but they had to bring it, and of course SS and the hair doesn't mix, so you couldn't use SS reinforce or SS support units if you didn't play SS. So it gave some good games, and I know that one of my buddies played some American Armor, and he did the research. They didn't have jumbos or EC8s, so he didn't bring that. And I didn't have to tell him. It was his own initiative to say, I don't want to bring this because they didn't have it. That was the yeah. It's really cool to see that we broke the meta thinking.
So I think people have worked out that Soren played Kampfgruppe Knittel. And if some of you probably seen the photographs of Soren's painting, which we all hate him for. Well, him and Ludi, to be fair. So how did you find it, Soren?
I thought it was fantastic. And that's, of course, the reason why I flew to Denmark, to Aarhus, to play in a historical event. And not only did I fly out, I got another Icelandic player with me. I got Peter from Sweden, and Stuart and Will joined us from the UK. Just because this is something different and historical. And I love the fact that they will put restrictions on the list, but it's not Morten telling us, you can't bring this or you can't bring that. He just said, pick the historical list you want, and then just do some research on your own. And apparently you can't let people have initiative and do their own research. You don't have to tell them what to do, which was awesome to see. And nobody was bringing something that didn't exist, which was really, really fun. Because I didn't play, jumbos or all pattern on every table. That wasn't it. And
actually, pattern was not allowed.
Yeah. So,
okay.
But that's the fun part, right? So it was really interesting. And not only the list restriction, Morten does a lot to spice it up. So it's not just pick a list that's historical and then Swiss draw. Because Blitzkrieg ohne Benzin, without gasoline, of course, there's some twists in it when Morten is around. So that made it really fun as well, and made people think how they should play the games. Morten, if you could tell us about.
Yeah, so in addition to the standard 80-point list, we had two main things going on. The Germans had extra reinforcements, kind of like firestorm units. And when they died, they would be dead. So the players needed to really take care of them, or at least not throw them away. But it seemed like Stuart threw away 2 King Tigers in his first game, for example, out of 3. And it was a mix of both infantry units or maybe a lot of tanks. And then the whole idea was that they could feel the power of the German panzers in the first game, and then steadily lose that initiative and lose to the Americans that got more and more help. The main mechanic that I added to it was the fuel, which was basically just a resource I added to the game. So said, okay, if you have top armor 0, you every time you move a unit that has top armor 0, you pay 25 fuel resources. If you have a top armor 1, you pay 50, or top armor 2, that's 100. And then I gave the fuel resources out in the beginning of the whole campaign, where they had what's it called? They had fuel enough fuel to move all their units for 6 turns in 2 games. So they had 12 turns of fuel, and they were gonna play 3 games. So they needed to conserve fuel at some point or capture fuel depots during the game. And I see that we lost Richard.
Yeah.
We'll just keep on going.
Yeah.
All right.
But the fun part is, Flames of War, normally you can just move everything whenever you want to. And all of a sudden you have restrictions, and you know that you can move everything now, but later it's going to come back to haunt you. That made some really interesting choices for people, especially attacking. Defending is a lot easier, not moving your units. If you get them into position, you can save some fuel. But attacking with your units, you all of a sudden, oh, maybe it's not that important that my Vesps can see. Maybe I can spot from somewhere else. Or do my King Tigers really need to move these 2 inches because they're going to use a quarter of my fuel left? And we saw in the end that some players used a lot of fuel.
Yeah, and we also added in the game 1 Saturday, we added the snow rules. So I think we played with snow and fog in the first game. So you couldn't see far, and you couldn't really drive, and you would pay the fuel either way, because you would have to roll a cross check every time you didn't drive in something that didn't have a terrain profile. So basically roads, anything but roads gave a cross check, and you're still paying fuel. So at some point, I remember clearly that Carsten, he was like shouting, I can't fucking move, can't get forward. So he had like standing with all his tanks in front of an objective, but he couldn't push because a third of his tanks bogged down on the way. And it was so cool to see. So even though they had I think they had maybe double as many points in the game 1, and they just couldn't, they felt that the terrain and the fuel was against them in some way. We've also found out that the German players had too much fuel during game 1. So during game 2, prices, just like in the stock market, prices changed. So I think, did I triple it or did I double it? I can't remember.
You doubled it.
Yeah. So fuel prices
just
were
so you
doubled.
guys know, we're offline on YouTube.
No.
And Zoom. Richard's network is gone completely.
It still says live on mine YouTube, because I'm a host.
Okay, interesting. You're the host.
Maybe. I am a host.
You are the host.
The host now. So I think, are we live?
Then I guess we're still live.
Oh my God.
Better check it out.
Yeah, someone check.
Sorry to anyone who might be listening to this.
Yeah, Richard will cut this out.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't say
That seems
anything
like-
important. Don't say anything important.
Yeah, it seems like we're still live through
good.
Morten.
All right.
Yeah. But one of the things I like about when you run campaigns, Morten, is you have a script, but you don't necessarily follow it, and whatever happens. If you spot something is off, you adjust, just like you adjust the petrol prices, or if somebody needed more troops, then you just, because this is one of the things you can do if it's not competitive in that way. Because it doesn't, nobody will feel it's unfair, or maybe they do feel it, but that's, you know it when you walk into the event, that you shouldn't expect 100 points versus 100 points. So the challenge is see what you can do with this. And by
and that's definitely what I like myself. I want the tough fights in a way that I want to, but as long as I know that I'm up against the odds, then it's fine. So this is also what I do a habit when I invite people and so on and communicate these events. I'm saying it's not a tournament, it's an event, and it will be unfair sometimes.
That's
Sometimes.
I definitely need to come to the next version or event. Too bad I couldn't make it this year.
Yeah, we'll definitely host something. We just need to figure out what kind of theater and whatever we're gonna do. I think it will be late war, whatever we do, because that's our player base, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure out if we should have bowl action included in some way. That could also be really cool and make like a big World War II event instead of just Flames of War. So
sounds great. Sounds great.
What else?
Yeah. So, Lud, when you go out to play competitively or at events, what are you looking for? Are you just looking for the location or the theme of the event? Or
sorry about that. Well, first of all, I need to make sure it's a place that I can go to, and the dates are fine. But then it's for me, I live a pretty busy life otherwise, so for me it's a really good excuse to actually go out and play. And since quite a bit of the guys that especially in Europe that go to events tend to gather around the events, it's a bit like getting together with a bunch of friends for a long weekend and have some fun. But then of course there's a few events that I keep an eye out on. For example, Polar Bear is one that it was kind of like a bit like my first ETC. The first time I went was like, yep, if I can make it, I'll be here. And then I've noticed that some tournaments tend to be at a really good timing for me. So if there's I choose one for the fall, then one for the winter, then one for spring, and then summer. And sometimes I might like count the summer event as the ETC, or then even add one extra. But yeah, it's a community, the friendship, good games, and what I've noticed at the ETCs and now at the Belgian GT a few weeks ago, where I was playing, the best games are the ones where we have a really it's a really tough game, like game wise, but games where we also have a ton of fun. So it's like like terrible to think that it's fun when you have a big bloodbath going on, but it is amazing when you have this massive fight going on, and either player goes like, oh man, you're gonna win next turn. You're no, keep on going, because it's gonna turn around, and it does turn around. But then again, it turns around the next turn again. So those games that do these constant 180s and stay as these insane nail biters, those I've come to really like.
Yeah, but they're hard to plan, right?
Yeah, you can't plan that. That just happens.
So, but
I was lucky enough to have like out of the 5 games at the Belgian GT, there were like 3 or 4 were absolute nail biters. So it was a pretty good event. And I mean, the venue, if it's a really cool venue, it's always a bonus. And for you guys have seen pictures from the Belgian GT. Unfortunately, I don't have any at hand here, but it's an old gunpowder magazine that's been turned into a para commando team room or team bar, with memorabilia from ranging from World War II to the latest stuff from Afghanistan and Iraq, and
Wow.
it's old sergeant majors serving beer, making the lunch. It's those kinds of venues and events that they're just unique.
Mm.
But it seems there is a player base for something else than pure competitive gaming, right?
Yes, yes,
everywhere.
And we've also been looking at the non-competitive stuff in Finland, and this summer we organized a Operation Market Garden mega battle, and it was a 16-meter long table, basically starting off from the outskirts of Eindhoven, having all the three major bridges that were objectives, finishing up in Arnhem, and the Allies were tasked to try to relieve the British paratroopers that dropped into Arnhem. But turns out it's a bit difficult to change history. So the Germans did block the Allied 30 Corps and American paratroopers just outside of Arnhem. So it was,
Nice.
as the story says, it was a bridge too far.
Oh.
But yeah, we will be doing either the same game next year again, or a similar one. I'd say Operation Market Garden is fun to do in the sense that it's an easy table to make. You do this one massive table that has several things going on at the same time, and you keep it. We also had the same idea that we had two players for American forces. So you had the 82nd and the 101st. I think I played the 82nd. Then we had a few players for the British Paras. Then we had 2 players for 30 Corps, because we had literally hundreds of vehicles. The guys were asking, should I bring just my own list? Any supply trucks or whatever you could find, bring them on. Well, because it was also this kind of like showcase game for our club at a major event. So a massive table with beautiful looking minis that just sat by the tables just looks great. So yeah, let's see what we come up with. It would be nice to try something else, but we got some good ideas how to make the game better for next year.
Yeah, but it wasn't competitive at all, was it? You were playing.
No. We had like a just for fun. I think we had a kill count going on. So which general from each side would have the highest kill count, or and then we had the best painted army, and yeah, I think that's it. I can't remember if we had other prizes. But it was fun, and yeah, not competitive at all.
So when you go for events out in Europe, you go for nice locations, and you, of course, time that suits you. What about you, Morten? What do you like in a game? So
well,
6 years of ETC. That
years of ETC.
That seems to say that you like the competitive side, but you said you've fallen away from that. And
yeah, I think I'm growing old, even though Richard would disagree.
Yeah.
But just think it doesn't do it for me, because Flames of War is not that good of a game competitiveness, or in a competitive sense, because we see the same lists every time. We see Greyhound now it's fixed, but we had a certain number of lists that we would see every time.
Yeah.
And for me, that didn't cut it, because then I didn't need to go out, because I don't want to see these lists. So
yeah.
I think that's my rationale right now, that I want to go to events where I don't see the standard list. I want to see, for example, this event we do in Denmark. Jens, my buddy, and we are going to do Steiner Kampfgruppe in 1945. So we're going to have shit units, but stuff you don't see normally. That's usually what I like. That's also what I liked about ETC, maybe in version 3, or I can't even, where you maybe had more freedom to do something crazy, and you were like, okay, I can see why you did this, because this is working. I still see that. Chris
Just
Jackson
doesn't
did,
work.
well, Chris Jackson had a nice Volksgrenadier list, which was really a nice alternative thinking compared to the meta. So I still got it at ETC, but I would rather go to, I think location also means something, because I'm intrigued to go to Milan for the big World Series, right? And just because of the city as well. But in my mind, I would rather go to Polar Bear, for example. But that's also because you didn't mention all the other stuff we did around Polar Bear. You didn't mention the going out for dinner. We didn't go. We also went for history lesson with Yukul, and all these extra things were actually the things that I enjoyed more than the
gaming.
Yes. Of course, you had
we got back the Scotsman as well.
Yes,
Sorry for interrupting.
it works.
So I'm assuming that everybody lost that. My work network decided to crash. So there's a lesson for me. Use the one at home, because actually the one at home works better than the one at work. There's lots of red lights flashing in the back room. And although I was once a computer programmer and did once do a network admin, it's all beyond me now that it's in the cloud. If you can't program it with COBOL, it's all a bit of so I'll do some post-production stuff.
I wonder where we could have a cloud consultant.
Yes, but the problem with that is that you're in Helsinki and I'm in Edinburgh, and I need somebody to fix the internet. So I've had to rip cables out of stuff and all sorts of things. So no doubt when everybody comes in tomorrow, there'll be nobody doing any
your
work.
IT department's going to love you.
Yeah, they're in London, so it takes them a long time to get to me, and I can run faster than them. So we'll do a bit of post-production on this and make it look a little bit less like BT don't know what they're doing with their internet connections. And we were talking about Kampfgruppe Knitzel, and then you guys were talking about how it had worked. There's some really good comments in the chat.
I think we're still live though, Richard.
Yeah, we are
okay,
live.
so that's good. So it's just me. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I won't have to.
We kept on talking.
Okay, so if you guys kept on talking, you don't need me then. You just need me to set it up.
Yeah, I think it's because you made me a co-host or something.
So see, now that's a good That's a good learning point for the future.
It says live, but I don't know, because I don't have a connection to the YouTube channel, right?
No, the YouTube's still going. So
okay.
Ernst has just said he's still seeing you all. He just avoided seeing me, which is no bad thing. So
view rates go up. I don't know.
Absolutely. Everybody thinks Richard's not there, so that's great. I could have panicked less. But there's some really good comments. Thanks for breaking. Thumbs up for breaking the meta. Somebody saying it was by far and away the most fun event they've ever been to. Somebody saying if then YouTube allows it, they'd love to come to Denmark to play in the future. And I know it's definitely on my list to come over and see the guys, because that would be grand. And I quite like this idea of doing things historically. There'll be a few people who will listen to this who will know that I am a bit of a stickler for history. So if you're listening, Christian, I'm still disappointed about those T-38s that you had in that list in Polar Bear, and that's not just because they were the unit that won you the game. I try, although I took a slightly meta list to the ETC. I did take the right vehicles. They were all Humbers rather than Daimlers, because there was only one Daimler unit in the Northwest. So I just wanted to ask, you might have covered this while I was running around basically ripping the IT system apart in my office. How did you determine winners and losers, or did you just give everybody a prize? Was it like, modern day schooling where you just get a prize for turning up?
Yeah. I have a prize list somewhere. What was it? So I have we have best painted platoon, best painted our best allied player, best access tank hunter, most crazy opponent instead of favorite opponent, and then most SoMe likes, so social media likes, and most fuel spent for the Germans. And the games were played as normal. So you would win if you took the objective, done. The thing here was that you also had 2 extra objectives now that you had to place, which were fuel dumps. So I can't remember, Søren, if you won the game, you didn't get the fuel, right? You had to take the fuel before you win.
Yeah.
And that was the trick to try and change the game a little bit.
And from what I could see because I followed it on Soren's social media and also on the Flames of War Denmark social media, and you might have covered this, so apologies if
I didn't say that.
About it. You limited the number of moves that German armor had, didn't you? In some of the games, they could only make a certain number of moves before they ran out of petrol.
Yes, so in total, the campaign started where they had a total of 12 turns of movement for all their units, but they were playing 18, right, minimum.
Right.
So they needed to conserve the fuel, and we found out we covered it a bit, but we found out that people were they had way too much fuel, so I upped the prices, so doubled and tripled them at some point. And then they were like, fuck. And which was cool, because then like Søren said, we were reacting on the game, so we saw that there was a flaw. We didn't get the thing we wanted, so we changed the rules a bit. Stuart, visiting from England, also asked us, so could we swap fuel between players? And my initial thought was no, but it gave way more collaboration and talk in the units, that now the infantry guy could actually share the leftovers of his fuel to a panzer unit, which was really great. But in the last game, I think all of the German players, they felt they were really pushed on fuel if they were attacking.
Yeah.
So they actually huddled all the fuel together to give to Klaas, who was attacking Liège, and I can't remember who else. William was attacking as well, I think. Yeah. So the last 2 German attacks, they got all the fuel basically, and they had one final push.
But that was a really nice twist, because we huddled up, and it's a good way, again, to get people to talk together. You're on the same team. Sometimes you have a commander, and he tells you you're going to attack here, and then people go to the tables. And if people are not super social, they'll just do that. But now you have to talk to everybody to see who needs fuel. Do you need fuel? Do you have something to spare? And we had 2 rounds of really bargaining, because everybody wants fuel, because who doesn't want to drive the tanks? But somebody really needs it. So it helped push us together as a group, a camp group. So that was a fun way to do it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up my last game with the King Tigers with fuels to move 1 turn. So it's all of a sudden it's deployment, and then you're stuck, right? So, but that was great, and everybody seemed to enjoy it. So that was a good twist. And
for the Americans, we had extra cards, so they got more and more support based on the history as well. So in the beginning, they had a lot of artillery units that could fire off-table bombardments, because this was actually what held the whole line. And in the end, of course, the sky is clear and everybody gets planes. And I think everybody brought their planes, and we just put it on the table. And they were like, okay, you take a plane, everybody gets a plane. And they just, hammered the Panzer units. And it was great, because this was expected. I hope it was great. Of course, I'm also a mean guy, so I, of course, tease the Germans that they can get more fuel from doing tasks for me. For example, getting bubble water for me. Or, for example, if they made a SoMe post, a social media post, they would get some fuel if they hyped the event, doing the event, which I think is brilliant. So I told them, either post in our Danish group or in the international, do whatever you want. And I think one of the best ones is Al with a helmet. saying like he's being overrun and he needs help. Did that in a video and posted it. And Søren, you also did something, I think. Oh, we did an interview with you. I forced you to do an interview, and I really liked that because it gave a total hype, and it was easy for me as an organizer because I didn't have to do it. Yeah, what else? We had tank hunters, of course, killing the most tanks on the Allied side. So they wanted to kill the Panzers, of course, or destroy them. And the cool thing is that I don't know if I have it. Let me see. Oh no. I did some stats, for example, how much fuel did they spend every turn to make like a diagram of who spent the most fuel. It's kind of cool.
Cool. And so we're going to pop a link because Morten's done the rules up, but it's obviously been something that he's put an awful lot of time and effort into.
Yeah. So I wrote 17 pages of
They're on your
rules.
Etsy page, aren't they? So we're going to put a link up to Morten's Etsy page, and we'll put that on the Facebook group, the Breakthrough Assault Facebook, and we'll put it in the comments here. And so anybody who wants to run something can get some ideas from it. And now I know there's been a couple of questions in the Flames of War Denmark page, and I get the impression that if I don't ask the question, I'll probably get people wanting to know why I didn't ask the question. So 2023, October 2023, have you got anything planned?
I think we talked to
and have you got a really big hall for all the people who will now want to come? Because we spent quite a lot of time really sort of making it sound like a really big
I think we need to figure something out. We have a regular thing in February every year, and I'm thinking I want to do and right now Jesper is doing that together with Christian in 2023. So maybe in 2024 I will do that together with Jens, but maybe we'll also do something 23. We just need to figure out. Sorry. Do it. Fuck. Okay. I promise we'll do it.
Now the voice has spoken.
Yeah, the voices have spoken.
Ludi has told us, our leader has told us we've got to do it. So
shit. All right. So we'll do it. We'll do something in October-ish. I
think that's part of whilst I think we wait to see what the unfolding view of Flames is going to be, and that's just a little bit of a trailer, because that'll be the conversation that we're going to have in the next time, which will be in the new year. I think part of the thing is going to be keeping the interest alive. So there's a couple of ideas I've got about competitions where you might pick a list, but you might not play with it. So, if you want to go full meta, that's fine. But you might find that you're trying to fight a full meta English, British Humber list with, a load of Pumas or Finns. So that, I'm trying to work out how that would work. So I think these
the main issue with there is that you don't want to. Not all people want to lend out their models.
That is part of the
biggest.
We've done something like this in Ancients before, and you have to do it with people who you can trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I would hate to drop one of Ludi or Soren's or particular Christian's models on the floor and have to deal with the impact of
they're just toys.
Well, the thing is, I know you don't mind actually. But some people, if you spent a long time painting it, and I'm a crap painter, and I could get quite precious about some of my stuff. So, but I think it's really important that we try and keep the interest alive. I thought about doing something similar to what you've done with Blitzkrieg with Team Yankee, and doing a big sort of. I think we need to do that. So
I think Team Yankee is really well suited for that because it's so big, right? You can really do an invasion of Denmark or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I was looking at doing sort of just giving people different bits, and then having a commander that's got the artillery and the air assets and things like that. So but it's finding time and space to get it done. And actually, if I'm being honest, in the UK at the moment, it's it's again players. We're struggling for players in Team Yankee.
Yeah.
So look, I know we have overrun because you guys kept talking while I was running around panicking. We've got all this dead space on. So learning point for me is always make someone a co-host, which is quite helpful. So does anybody, Ludi or Soren, have you got any other questions for Morten before I do the Christmassy stuff? And
No, not really. I think we discussed pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Just
can you see I missed it all?
remember
I'll have to watch it back. Watch a blank space or me frozen like this. Like what's happened.
Just a request to Morten to remember to tell us when if you guys come up with a similar event for next year, just give us
definitely
thing in advance.
Make some noise.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
So
I'll definitely do that.
As it's nearly Christmas, and Soren's going to have to deal with a cat that wanders around and eats people in Icelandic tradition. I'm learning. So I like to take, play the part of being a part-time Icelander. So have you got anything? Are you getting stuff for Christmas, or have you got anything planned to paint up over Christmas for the new year? I've got a couple of units to paint to take over to Finland when I go play in Helsinki in March. So Ludi, what are you doing? What are you working on over the Christmas holidays, or are you just working?
No, I'm taking Christmas off this year. I'm actually going to be working on the Tamiya 135 scale Jeep.
All right.
I've got right there above my thumb. I managed to place pretty well at a local painting competition this summer, and the competitive painter guys in Helsinki were like, well, there's this event in Hungary in April. We want you to come and join us with something. So I was thinking about painting up, at least building up that one. I've got all the photo etch aftermarket parts and so on. I need to figure out how that works. It's a bit different. Going to scale models from wargaming, I actually have to build the models like completely from scratch. They don't come pre-cast or anything. So I'll need to figure out how that works and try to paint it up in a few days. And otherwise, yeah, I mean, I've got while we've been chatting here, I've been finishing up some Flames of War Italian paratroopers. So I think I'll be basing them during the Christmas holidays.
Cool.
While stuffing myself with good food.
Well, I see Mark is joining us. Well, I'm preparing my army for Finland as well. I don't just need to finish a couple of models. I need a complete army, and I'm not the fastest painter. So this project has begun, and I've done one objective. So I'm almost there.
Don't you have 2 objectives already?
Yeah, but I only painted one.
You're starting with the important things.
I'm starting with the test colors.
Yeah, that Gebirgsjäger army. Well, the objectives you've made. I'm seeing a contender for best painted already.
Definitely. All the time with you, son.
Yeah, but that's because infantry in mid-war sucks. So of course I'm running a Gebirgsjäger company.
That's the way to do it.
I think I'm bringing infantry as well, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Test out the army that I'm then not going to take to the ETC because it's not too good. The Gebirgsjäger, if you get a chance, Soren's paintings on the polar bear and Flames. It's not a Flames of War Iceland site, is it? It's just a flame.
It's Burning Bridges.
Burning Bridges. So if you've got some negative waves that you want to get rid of, then you can look at Soren's fantastic painting on there. And lastly, Morten, you got anything? What's on your painting table?
Well, we have the 1945 event ish in February, so I need to make some crap German units. So I have I have some Volksgrenadiers I need to paint and some Jagdpanzer 4 longs. And Jens and I, we have a little thing. We did a research on Steiner's battle group, and he apparently had some 1940 French tanks at his disposal. So we're gonna bring some Romanian, a Romanian formation of the Renault. So I also need to paint that. So let's see if early war tanks can win in late war.
So there's a link, because the list that Soren's painting should have some French tanks in it as well for Panzerabteilung 201, but unfortunately there's no card for them in.
Yeah, sucks.
And there used to be a card list for. There used to be a list in version 3, didn't there? For
Okay.
Panzers for all the French stuff, Hotchkisses, and I know because Duncan talks about it incessantly on our little Facebook page.
But,
and I'm painting Cubans, so
you're painting Cubans for Team Yankee.
Yeah, so I'm getting I've convinced my partner that she needs to buy me some more wargaming stuff, because we don't have enough stuff in the house. So that'll be the box set for Red Dawn, because I quite fancy some BMDs, and I'm going to add some Cubans to it as well, and see how we go. See if I can kick a few people back into being interested in Team Yankee, because it's quite a long way to go to Belfast for a game, even from up here. So right, we've overrun as we normally do. Thanks to everybody for sticking with us. Big thanks to Morten for joining us, and yeah, thanks, mate, and talking through. And I think
of course,
I think you've given people a lot of things to think about there. And I'm sure if we've got any questions, I know I can, sling them across to you on Messenger, and
definitely
want to ask anything that they've forgotten. So genuinely appreciate you joining us, mate, and have a good Christmas. And I do promise I definitely will get over to Denmark in 2023. So
good.
And then you two, I'll see you both in March anyway, and have a good Christmas. And we'll sort out a lineup to talk about version 5. We might even ask Mark, because he's looking so happy and enjoying the game there. Everybody else in the room was drinking except Mark, and I think that probably tells you something about the Saturday evening in Reykjavik. But so anybody that's watching, anybody that tunes in later, have a really great Christmas, and we will see you on the next Eyes and Ears in 2023. Good God, yeah.